Welcome back to another video. Today I have my top 50 anime from the years of 2010 all the way to 2017. This list is in order of year of release instead of my personal preference. If you would like to learn more about any of these shows, check out my review playlist for spoiler-free reviews. Rainbow is set in 1955 Japan and follows the struggles of a group of teenagers in prison dealing with abusive guards as they try to endure so that they could all one day realize their individual dreams. It's definitely one of those types of anime that really get you invested into the lives of some of its characters due to their backstory, goal, and hardships, and you really do feel for them when they face adversities. Prison rape. Arakawa Under the Bridge follows a wealthy young man who falls off a bridge and is saved by a group of strange homeless people who live under the bridge, but due to his nature to never be indebted to anyone, he decides to live down there with them in order to repay them. Here he meets a girl who believes herself to be an alien along with a few other very interesting characters as well, including this young girl right here. It's actually pretty funny anime, and I would definitely recommend going ahead and checking it out. You're gonna laugh so much at this one. Angel Beats is essentially a slice-of-life high school anime, except for the fact that it's set in a very vague afterlife where all of its characters have died. Normally, I'm not a big fan of these types of shows, but I found it interesting in seeing how these characters died and all their backstory and everything, and there's also a very gripping ending for the show as well. If you're a big fan of Welcome to the NHK's chaotic introspection, and you can also read about 5 books per minute, then you will probably love the Tatami Galaxy. It focuses on a college student who faces an existential meltdown as he thinks about a mile per minute. For the sake of time, the story is told through various time resets, where Watashi will actually relive very similar events while trying to make the best of it each time. It's a great anime directed by Masaki Uwasa, and if you have trouble reading the fastest subtitles that you've ever seen, this may not be for you, but I would still recommend trying it. But man, these subtitles really go crazy here. We have Shingeki. You've never seen a vampire anime done like this before. Vampires slowly invade this small Japanese village and begin to take over. It's very interesting to see how these villagers respond. Some want to fight back, some stay in denial, and others just lose their mind. This is definitely something for everyone to watch, especially if you're a big fan of vampires or horror anime. Though that this handled romance much better than many of the other romance anime that I've seen. It's not the best by any means, but it's got lots of smaller little romance arcs included in here, and I felt like, these smaller little individual stories were done very well. I still haven't finished watching Hunter x Hunter 2011, but if I didn't add it here, the CEO of Shonen Jump threatened to fly down to Virginia and punch me in the butthole. I think we all know by now what Hunter x Hunter is, so I can really skip the intro for this, but if you like shonen fighting anime, then you should watch this, and if you don't, then don't. Personally, I prefer Yu Yu Hakusho, but Hunter x Hunter 2011 still has some pretty good moments at times. Into the Forest of Fireflies is yet another coming-of-age short film, but this one follows a young girl as it is set in a fantasy environment where she one day stumbles into a forest of spirits and becomes close friends with one of them. If you have a few free moments to basically get kicked in the feels, then you won't regret watching this beautiful short film. By now, Anohana has the reputation of squeezing tears from a stone as it follows a young boy coping with the death of his close friend when he suddenly meets her ghost. Considering how short this anime is, I can't say much without spoiling it, aside from it being another anime within my least favorite genre that I found to be just heavy-hitting when I gave it the chance. Oji-san no Lamp is a historical coming-of-age story following a young boy living in a rural Japanese village who one day decides to venture out into the big city, discovering oil lamps and deciding to sell them back to his village. Despite its short length, they do an amazing job of pacing its way through the life of this young man and his struggles, considering that it will take you less than an hour to watch. I want everybody who watches this video to really check out this anime right here. I've got a review on it, just check it out. It's one of these shows that nobody's ever heard of before, but it's definitely a hidden gem. If you have a taste for corny humor and you want to see what type of anime you'd get with a $20 budget, then Inferno Cop is just for you. I wouldn't say that it's a good anime by any means, but it's short enough to pique my interest, and it made me laugh a few times at how cheesy it was. It's definitely something that don't have too high of expectations when you watch it, and I think you'll be alright. Berserk the Golden Age arc isn't my preferred way to get into the Berserk franchise, but at this point we will never get a perfect adaptation, so if you haven't started reading the manga yet, these movies are an alright place to start, but personally though, just go read the manga. Asura is set within feudal Japan, following a young orphan Asura who tries to survive this war-torn world. This is a really dramatic and dark movie right here, and surprisingly enough, it's from Toei Animation, and it's also CG, but it's also probably the best looking anime that they've came out with in the past decade. It's worth watching though, go ahead and check this one out. Shinsekai Yori is an anime with a plot that's got more twists than that foot-long dildo that somebody in your house accidentally ordered under your Amazon account, but nobody there is willing to admit to. It's a show that's filled with mystery, and it's set in the distant future where humans have psychokinetic abilities. I can't say too much about the story without spoiling it, but if you like mystery, if you like drama, and sci-fi, then you should definitely check this one out. Wolf Children follows a mother and her struggles of caring for her two wolf children. No, this isn't the results of some sick furry orgy, it's actually a very touching story. Despite the bizarre premise, this does an amazing job of displaying the struggles of a single mother and the hardships of children growing up. Wolf Children is my favorite Hosoda film, so definitely go ahead and check it out. Kids on the Slope is a music slice of life anime following a few friends who play music together. Like one of my other favorite music anime, Beck, it's not all about the music, as we see conflicts in these characters' lives, causing them to fight against each other, and personally I do prefer Kids on the Slope over Beck, so if you're a big fan of musical anime, then you've got to check this one out. If you love action and comedy, then JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is practically a requirement at this point. Every new season follows this insane journey of our heroes as they fight against evil. Despite its crazy antics, this is a show where just about any character is actually up on the chopping block at any moment here, and when it's not making you laugh to tears, it's actually very intense. Shinju is a very short anime series that is a parody of shonen battle series and also RPGs as well, and right away you can see them making jokes about how the most exciting and awesome character in RPGs or shonen anime is never the main character, it's always some sort of side character here. They really do go all out here, and like one of the jokes that I really laughed a lot at in the second half of this, when there was a guy that was obviously a parody of Itachi, and you could see that his shadow was like covering his eyes, but he took it off and it was just like it was a mask that he was wearing. This anime is just like non-stop hilarity. However, I have to say that the middle of this anime is easily its weakest point because they spend several episodes in a prison, but outside of that, I thought it was really funny. Just a fun watch if you've got a few hours to spend and if you're a big fan of shonen anime and also RPGs as well. If you love Masaki Yuasa and Nacho Libre, then you've practically already seen Kick Heart, but hey, this is definitely something that's worth a watch for everybody because it's only a few minutes long. The story, what can I say, it's practically Nacho Libre, but it's got this Yuasa flair to it. You can definitely tell from the animation and all of the wacky things that are going on here, and this is definitely something that's worth a watch for everybody because it's only a few minutes long. Despite Attack on Titan giving me mixed feelings within the first season of the show and how long it took for us to get that second season to come out, you know, I really can't complain about that because I'm basically getting what I want with the second season finally coming out, but it is filled with mystery that keeps you thinking about their world, the history, and all of these characters' backgrounds here, and as far as the action is concerned, that's definitely on point within the second season. If you like the action of the first season of Attack on Titan, you've probably already watched the second season by now or read the manga, so who am I talking to here? Let me just move on. Next we have Kagaku no Yatsuda, which features an incredibly heavy plot. Wait a minute. This is actually the notes for the wrong list here. Yeah, I hope I remember to edit this out. If you're looking for horror in anime, chances are you're probably disappointed more times than not. Yami Shibai is probably one of the better horror anime out there, considering that it's got this gritty, low-polish art style to it, and every episode features a different horror story. It's great to watch in short bursts or marathoning, as there are multiple seasons with very creative stories within each episode. I have to admit though, Season 1 and 2 are my favorites. Season 3 was just alright, and I haven't seen Season 4 yet. yet, I can say that this is one of the anime that will really creep you out, just depending on what episodes. I think everybody's going to have their favorite episode because they're always so different from each other. Garden of Words is one of the most beautiful anime that I've ever seen. It's a romance following a teenage boy who by chance meets an older woman at the park, and he continues to go there in hopes of seeing her again. And just talking about the beauty of this anime, there were times when we're looking at some of the backdrops here, I had to just pause it and think, is this a real video or a picture or something in Japan? Because they really did model it after a little park in Japan. But as a romance story, I think it's pretty touching, but it's definitely worth watching even if you're not a big fan of romance, just for how beautiful the animation is. Watamote follows a female otaku teenager and her struggles to fit in with society. This is no welcome to the NHK, as it actually makes light of the situation in ways that are so hysterical that you're gonna crack a rib. Honestly though, I've only seen a few episodes of this anime, but I've actually been caught up to the manga for some point. I know there's still a lot that I haven't read, but I do know that it is really funny, and from what I've seen of the anime, it seems to be a good adaptation of the manga, plus I hear it's hilarious as well, so definitely check this one out, or read the manga, however you like. If you like MMORPGs and want to watch an anime about MMORPGs that's not Sword Art Online, then watch Log Horizon. It's just as simple as that. As an ex-MMO junkie myself, I feel like the experience that these players are having in-game would make for one of the best MMOs out there. I really enjoyed the experience that these characters were having here. There's so much world building going on, there's politics between the various kingdoms, they get into raiding and crafting, they really do go in depth in terms of the mechanics of this game. I really enjoyed that, but at the same time, I have to tell you that I haven't seen the second season yet, but I was really enjoying the first season enough to put it on this list. What would happen if the devil had to get a job at McDonald's? The devil is a part-timer answers just that question, as Demon Lord Mao escapes into our world along with a few of his demon companions. Oddly enough, there are at war with angels, and they also come over as well, and they work at a few other rival food chains, like basically something along the lines of KFC. Now, the great thing about The Devil is a Part-Timer for me was that this is a comedy that just extends far beyond the cultural boundaries, and I think anybody from anywhere in the world is going to laugh at this, because it basically takes place within settings that practically everybody in the world is already familiar with, like fast food restaurants. It's definitely a really funny show, and it's not only action-oriented too. There's a few fights here which kind of are not what I expected, but I still came away enjoying them. If you're a fan of Power Rangers or any Japanese Sentai shows, then Samurai Flamenco is totally worth watching. However, I have to admit that this is one of those types of shows that it's only going to be appealing to that particular audience, and even then I think this very narrow sort of audience that they have is still not going to be happy with the second half of the anime. At least, you know, the last quarter of it. I don't know anybody who likes the ending to the show, but still it's something that's really funny when you watch this guy in the beginning start off, because he's such a big fan of the heroes, the Power Rangers and the Sentai heroes, that he basically goes out on the streets and he's trying to solve crime on his own, but he starts off doing like menial tasks such as just getting after old women for putting their trash out a day early, but he gets beaten up by thugs and everybody's chasing after him. So it's this progression that he has of always getting beaten up, and to the point where he starts using like office equipment as weapons, and he's using like staplers and stuff. It's really funny for at least the first half of it. The second half not so much, but if you're fine with watching a show and dropping it when you don't care anymore, then it's totally worth watching, because I felt the first half was really funny. Second half was a big disappointment though. If you want to cry like a little bitch, then watch Your Lie in April. It follows a pianist who is unable to play piano due to the fact that he has PTSD from having a childhood of being abused, and he meets his violinist here who attempts to inspire him to get back into playing the piano. The anime isn't perfect, and you can see why in all of those details in my full review, that is spoiler free by the way, but it definitely does feature a good amount of drama and romance elements, plus it attempts to handle a situation that isn't really featured within any other anime that I've seen, so definitely go ahead and check it out. Yona of the Dawn is a fantasy adventure anime following a princess on the run after her father was assassinated, causing the kingdom to fall into the hands of the enemy. Here she searches the land in order to find legendary heroes to help her on her journey. I have to say that this was a pretty good anime, but I considered not adding it to this list just because it is incomplete and there is no word of if or when we will be getting a second season of this. And the ending that they have here, not to spoil it for you, but it's kind of like, let's go do this thing, and then they stop and they never do it. So this is really a story that is totally incomplete unless they have the second season to it, but from what we saw, I liked it, and I would like to see more. Parasyte manages to blend action, horror, and psychological elements all together when parasites start taking over human bodies in order to slowly take over the world. And I know this sounds like something out of The Thing, which is also a pretty good movie, but this is actually a pretty good show here, as these parasites are fighting against each other, and they have all different sorts of abilities, and they have crazy combat in here. If you're looking for something with some wild fights to it, definitely check out Parasyte here. But there's also this other element to it that goes a little bit deeper, where both humans and parasites alike will be asking the question of what it means to be human. Rage of Bahamut has got to be the fluke to rule all flukes, because it's an anime adaptation of a mobile card game, which sounds like a terrible idea, but it's actually pretty fun. It takes the Samurai Champloo dynamic of having our characters, one is a ruffian, the other one is the stoic knight-like character, who they both hate each other and they're always fighting. And by the way, these fights are so much fun. They have horses that are just riding on the top of buildings, jumping off and just fighting each other in the air. This is a crazy show, but both of these characters here, they are indebted to this girl, to following her on her journey. So it definitely has this flavor of Samurai Champloo to me. Maybe it's because Champloo is one of my favorite anime. I wouldn't say it's as good, but it's definitely its own thing in parts as well, because it's set in this fantasy world with magic and demons and everything. There's some crazy fights here too. Giovanni's Island is sadly an underappreciated anime film set during a Russian occupation of some of the smaller Japanese islands after the events of World War II. Here we see that there's two young boys who basically come to terms with the recent changes in their life and also try to survive given the circumstances here. It's a really touching anime film that is incredibly dramatic, and I know once you watch this you will never forget it, and you'll be just like me and telling everybody you know to check out Giovanni's Island. And this is actually one that's been on my list for a long time to review. I don't know why I haven't yet. I found Seven Deadly Sins to be an action and comedy-packed shonen, and it's one that doesn't really try and take itself too seriously here, but still has lots of fun characters, lots of exciting fights here. You've got some characters that are so powerful that there's one guy who could throw a spear for miles, there's another guy who could cut down an entire force with a single swing of his sword, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. The second half of this I wasn't the biggest fan of, but I'm still waiting on that second season. It's taken them forever to bring this one out. I'm hoping that we get to see it sometime soon, because it was really a lot of fun, and there's, it just made me laugh so much within the first half. Ushio Totora is a remake of the 1990s classic shonen anime that follows a boy who discovers this ancient spear that gives him the ability to command a powerful demon in order to fight against other powerful demons. And now, I've only seen about 12 episodes of this anime, and people say the story gets a lot better after that point, but from right now, all I can say is that the story is just alright, but the reason why I'm adding it to this list is because it gives me this strangely nostalgic feeling to it. Everything about this has just been revamped from the original that I've never seen, but it still gives me this nostalgic feeling that there's just that right amount of action, it's just that right amount of comedy here. It has that 90s feel to it, and it's just something that I think will be very exciting and relaxing for a lot of people to watch after they come home from work or come home from school or something, and I definitely want to get back to this at some point. I'm just always busy with other shows. One Punch Man is just that anime that everybody knew would be on this list before clicking on the video. It's got lots of action and comedy here, as it follows a hero who's so powerful that he's become totally uninterested in day-to-day occurrences in the life of a hero. And what can I say? I can't really blame him. If you kill everything in one hit, and it only took you doing a few sit-ups and push-ups every day to get there, things could get a bit boring for anybody. The Boy and the Beast is my second favorite Hosoda film, right under Wolf Children. Other people see it in basically the exact opposite way and have that being their favorite, and I can totally understand why. This is a beautiful coming-of-age story following a homeless boy who wanders into a magical realm and becomes a student of a talking bear. The great thing about this movie, aside from its beautiful animation, is that both the bear and the boy learn from each other and develop over the span of the story. Gundam Thunderbolt in its first season alone is honestly surprises me in how much it can accomplish in such a short amount of time, as it manages to master indirect characterization and briefs you on the setting in a way that I think anyone can watch this anime even if you've never seen a Gundam before, and it really shows how much these characters go through and how much they have to sacrifice in order to survive. The second season of this is, I think it's still airing, and I've only seen a few episodes of it, so I can only speak for the first season, but that alone is definitely making it worth being on this list here. I think Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans has got to be the best of both worlds. On one hand, it's a great way to start watching Gundam, considering that it's the most similar to some of the other 50-episode-long Gundam series in terms of content and length, while also it's being very pleasing to the fans of Gundam itself, even if you're one of the longtime fans of it, as I am myself. It's a very exciting and dramatic experience where all of the characters are up on the chopping block at any moment, making for a very thrilling experience. Some of these battles here will have you on the edge of your seat, believe me. Your Name is another hit film from Makoto Shinkai and is also the only body swap anime that I've ever found to be remotely touching. As a teenage boy and girl, they swap bodies every other day without really knowing why, and they become closer to each other while having never met each other, and this is because they're becoming invested with each other's lives because they live there every other day, so they try and do things for the best for them. Not quite at first though, but you know, this is a movie. The first half of this is really straightforward in what you would expect with body swapping, but the second half is filled with all sorts of twists that will keep you guessing and just be in suspense. From the creator of One Punch Man comes Mob Psycho 100, which I honestly preferred everything about it. Maybe it was because that nobody tried to compare the main character to any other anime character who's ever been in a fight, like they didn't get the joke of what One Punch Man was trying to do, but there's just something charming about his cast of characters, from the reserved mob over to his fraud of a mentor Kageyama. This show is total insanity, filled with comedy and action around every episode. There's never a dull moment here. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be perfect? Because Sakamoto Desuka answers that very question here, as he effortlessly does everything that you would imagine here, and a lot of things that you could never even think of here, from just trying to sneak in to the adult section of a video rental store where he's like walking around aisles creating up enough gust of wind to blow the curtain back so he can walk in without anybody seeing him, to avoiding his friend's cougar of a mom who is madly in love with him and is always pursuing him, so he's like just hiding in different areas of her house because he's there alone. Of course, there's lots of other times like people will pull out the chair from underneath him and he's still sitting on thin air. You know, this is a character here that does things so perfectly that people watching the show a lot of times thought that he was some sort of alien, and I did too. It's one of my top 5 favorite comedies of all time, and I really do hope everybody here who's watching this list gives it a chance. Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju is one of the most prominent anime on this list because not only does this do something different than the ordinary, but it also in many ways gives me hope for the future of anime as an adult. It begins in pre-World War II Japan and follows several characters pursuing their passion in Rakugo, an ancient Japanese art of storytelling, and the story spans over several generations, showing practically the entire lifespan of numerous characters, all within 25 episodes. I've got a full review of this one, just like many other anime on this list. Go ahead and check it out if, you know, this little segment here doesn't convince you. It is totally an anime worth watching. The Dragon Dentist is a pretty fun movie that is admittedly only on this list just because I found watching it to be pretty refreshing, but I didn't think too much about its characters or story as a whole. It's basically about these group of characters that are living on top of a dragon, and they fight off monsters that live within its teeth called cavities, and the best way to fight against these monsters is to prevent them from existing by keeping those massive teeth sparkly clean. anime is seriously lacking when it comes to historical-oriented war stories, so Yojo Senki I found to be a pretty refreshing change of pace after the first few episodes here. It's not exactly historical, but you can definitely tell the direction that they were trying to go with this. It follows an adult man who's trapped inside of a young girl's body and teleported to another dimension by God, and it's here that Tanya has to learn about her newfound magic abilities and fight against her neighboring countries and also God himself. This is another show that you're gonna have to wait for season 2 to see like the big reveal of the big conflict here, but I still felt that season 1 was actually pretty entertaining. If you're a big fan of MMORPGs, then you should definitely check out King's Avatar. This is an anime that follows a different perspective than any of the other gaming anime here, where we've got this former professional gamer who decides to leave all of that life behind and start over with a level 1 character on a brand new server of the same game where nobody knows his real identity here. Now, I can't say too much about this anime because I'm only a few episodes in, but it does feature some crazy fights and also some very interesting character dialogue in the net cafe that he actually plays in here. And like I said, if you're a big fan of MMOs or gaming in general, then this is a must-watch for you. Plus, it's Chinese, not Japanese, but I'm still adding it to this list anyways. Deal with it. Onihei is a criminally underappreciated anime series set in the Tokugawa era of Japan, following a former criminal turned samurai who polices his area, imprisoning other criminals. And what really makes this show entertaining for me is that as a former criminal, he is able to relate with many of these people and talk to them one-on-one and get them to give up information or work for him, or basically convince them to turn their life around. This is a fully episodic anime series where every episode introduces new characters and their own touching story about how they were mostly just trying to do the right thing and just trying to survive. They got caught up with all the hard times and ended up just being a criminal, and it's something that they really didn't expect to happen or want to happen, but it's kind of the sad truth of life for people within this troubled time. So what are your favorite anime from 2010 to 2017? Let me know about that. Plus, if any of these shows happen to pique your interest, check the description section for the link to my spoiler-free anime review playlist. And if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe because I'm actually planning on doing more videos like this. I want to do one for 2000 to 2009. I also want to do one for the 90s as well and see where that goes, because these take a long time to make, so I hope you guys appreciate it. And it's probably going to be copyright the hell because these videos usually are anyways, but if you are also interested in helping support the channel, this channel is like mostly funded by viewer support at this point, so go ahead and check out the Patreon if you are interested in that, because we have all sorts of bonuses like Discord chats that happen weekly, and we also have movie nights and plenty of things going on over there, so be sure to check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys.